Okay, I see my little red dot up at the top there, so we are good to go.
Yeah, I saw it. It just lit up and said it's being recorded.
Perfect.
And you have others waiting, Julia? Or they're just coming in?
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Got them added now. We've got a call-in user. If you could please identify yourself.
This is Martin Paris, Nevada Cattlemen's Executive Director.
Great. Thank you, Martin.
I'll see Julia, maybe just to make sure everybody gets in, we'll give it another minute or two.
Okay.
Yep. You don't have any others waiting right now?
I do not.
Okay.
Hi guys, how are you?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm gonna unmute myself now that I know I'm in. We can talk. I mean, you don't have to talk to me, but everything's working. So thank you guys. Thank you so much.
You bet.
Do you have anybody else waiting, Julia?
I do not.
Okay, I think it's 9:05. We'll go ahead and get started. Do you want to go through this first, your directions on this?
Yes, please.
Okay,
So a few housekeeping items. We'll be using some of the features of WebEx for those who have joined us through this platform. At the bottom right of your screen, you'll see participants and chat. Click on these to open the boxes. Next, locate the participants icon and click to open. Find your name on the participant list and hover over your name. A raise hand icon will appear if you wish to speak. This is what you'll click so that we know to call on you. Click it again to lower your hand after speaking or to withdraw the request. If you don't find the hand by hovering near your name, use the 3 dots at the bottom of the screen to open a menu where you will have the option of raising and lowering your hand. We have muted everyone to reduce the background noise. If you wish to give public comment, please use the hand raising feature and we'll call on you and ensure that your mic is unmuted. For those participating via phone, you can raise your hand during the public comment periods or the question period by pressing *9. You can unmute yourself when called upon by pressing *6. If you have any technical issues during the meeting, try the following. Turn the video off to see if the connection improves. Leave the video meeting and either try to rejoin or call in using the phone number and log in information from the agenda. If you are having problems getting unmuted or into the comment queue, use the chat function to make your comment and it will be recorded for the record. In addition to public comments during this workshop, interested parties are welcome to submit public comment and email to animalindustry@agri.nv.gov. As there is no sign-in sheet, which would be present at an in-person workshop, we'll be using the participant list. If we're unsure of your name, we may send you a chat so that we have the correct information in the meeting minutes. If you're joining us via phone, please send an email to animalindustry@agri.nv.gov indicating you participated in today's workshop or remain on the line after we close so that we can capture your information for the meeting record.
all right. Thank you, Julia. I'll go ahead and get started here. So we pretty much started our meeting there at 9:05. So good morning to everybody. Thank you for being here today. With Julia's start of the presentation, we'll say it's 9:05 on Tuesday, May 18th, 2021. And this is a scheduled time for the second workshop to solicit comments regarding proposed changes to chapters 564 and 565 of Nevada Administrative Code. This workshop is being held virtually via WebEx using either computer or telephone to ensure all wishing to participate may do so considering the current pandemic situation. This workshop has been properly noticed and is being recorded as required by Nevada open meeting law. My name is Doug Ferris. I'm the administrator for the Division of Animal Industry, and we have the following staff members with us here today. Julia Miller-Ketchum, who just gave us kind of a rundown of how things will work throughout the meeting, and also Young Inouye is on the line and taking notes for our meeting. So with that, Julia, I'll go ahead and turn it back over to you for the agenda, and we'll keep moving forward.
Okay. From our agenda, you'll see that we'll start with a period of open comment for anyone wishing to speak on concerns or to provide feedback. We ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes to ensure everyone can be heard and save questions for the next portion of the meeting. Following open comment, Doug will provide some historical context as to why we're at this point of proposing changes, steps in the process, and then we will review the proposed changes to NAC 564 and 565, followed by time for questions and clarifications. After questions, there will be another period for additional public comment on the proposed changes. Those who wish to speak during public comment are requested to use the hand raising feature, and when called upon, identify yourselves by your name and affiliation for the record. Again, please save your questions for after public comment at the conclusion of the review of the proposed changes. There will be time for questions and dialogue at that point once all information has been shared before we get moving to the next round of public comment. I will now open the general public comment.
Do we have any public comment, Julia?
I'm not seeing any hands raised at this point, Doug.
Okay. We'll have public comment again at the end of the presentation as well. So if anybody wants to jump in then, we'll go ahead and get started with this portion of it then if we can, please.
All right. So we're ready.
Go ahead. Yep, go ahead and go down to the next slide, Julia, please. Okay, we did this in the first workshop as well, but we're going to go over a little bit of the history as to why we're at this point with the Department of Agriculture and Animal Industry. So audit report number 15-02 was performed in December of 2014. It was conducted by the Division of Internal Audits, directed by the Executive Branch Audit Committee. The report made several recommendations for the Animal Industry Division, including transitioning brand inspectors to contract work, which the department agreed to explore. The audit states contracting part-time inspectors could benefit the state by over $100,000 annually. In addition to savings, the audit suggested that there may be gains in record keeping, productivity, and training, and et cetera. With that, some of the, as many of you know, the department did move in that direction when we switched everyone over, all the brand inspectors from state employees over to manpower contracted employees. This is some of the feedback that the department's received over the time since that's been done concerning brand inspections in the program, as far as the level of service, the reliability of appointments, knowledge of inspectors, the effort of some inspectors, lack of consistency, wait times for inspections, and the cattle producers bearing the burden of funding the majority of the program. Some of the feedback that the department has provided were items such as that it's difficult to manage from a human resources point and expenses with having contracted employees, difficult to maintain quality standards. Training is not required as they aren't state employees. Contracting company is also unhappy with some inspectors and has advised that they will be dissolving the contract with NDA. So the pressures to fix issues and to make corrections and then having no recourse being that they are not state employees is part of what has moved us in this direction. We put a slide up here that has some of the past and current budget as far as revenue received for this account. I will advise everybody, just so everyone knows, in FY 16 was a brand re-recording year. So those are higher, and 12, 16, and then again on 20. With our budget, this is the reserves that the account attained throughout time. And as you can see, as from 2012 up until 2019, it's been a steady decline in reserves for this budget account. Hence the reason that we are looking at these changes to regulations and bringing the brand inspectors back into state employment. The 2019 legislature issued NDA a letter of intent in September to present a budget solution for the livestock inspection program. And a budget solution can't come without a program solution to address the industry's needs. Go ahead, Julia, please. Part of the budget solution, which the business plan that the department came up with and submitted to the governor's finance office, and it was also submitted as an amendment during this legislative session with our budget, was to bring 5 full-time state employed brand inspectors. That would consist of 1 supervisor that would oversee the entire program, then 4 other full-time brand inspectors that would oversee our seasonal state inspectors. And the proposal was for 30 of those positions. And during this, and included in the amendment, then there also was the option of having during the interim of changing the program over, that we could still have contracted brand inspectors, so we could make a smooth transition and not affect the industry negatively with the changeover. There was also a dispatching program, which is basically an online program that would allow, it's an off-the-shelf program that would allow producers to either call into a phone number or do it via computer to request a brand inspection, which would provide us a higher level of tracking and following, making sure that we have brand inspectors going to the nearest locations and being more efficient in that sense. This would also provide for a higher level of training and expectations by having everybody as state employed brand inspectors. We could assign assignments that would place the brand inspectors in their area of knowledge. And it also included an electronic computerized program for the public livestock auctions, as those are still all tracked via paper still. Go ahead, Julia, please. The NAC change process. So 564 and 565 proposed language submitted to LCB was on June 25th of 2020. The small business impact survey was completed. The first public workshop to obtain feedback was held. We took the feedback that we received from that, revised the language, which you have today and which we'll go over. And that's today's meeting. The final proposal of this language then will be presented in a public hearing. And then finally, those, once we have that language, we'll submit that to the Legislative Commission for their review and approval, which will come in the future. That's our last slide, Julia.
Yes, that was the last slide for that.
Okay. All right.
Now, let's get to our proposed changes. There's our small business impact statements. For 565 as well. Okay. So this is 560.
Okay. And I don't know if you increase the font size on that?
Yep.
Will that work, or?
How's that?
Better. That helps. At least for my eyes, it does. All right. Then I also have it up here so I can follow along or keep track of things. So if you'll notice on here with the with 564, when we previously presented this, everything was either in blue italics, that was the presented new language, or in red and bracketed. We've now added the green bold, the purple, and the orange to make the changes that we've proposed after the first workshop. So let me get to where I'm. So with 564, you'll notice, and I know this was discussed during our first workshop, that the way it was written wasn't correct, and that the way it was written would have charged everybody a $35 non-refundable application fee. That was not the department's intent. That was an error in the wording of that. So for the brand renewal periods, there will not be a $35 application fee. It'll just be the $120 fee that has been historically assessed for that. So we did go in here and changed out part of that. In the purple, you'll see at the line 564.040. We took out that section so that we could remove that, so it was not assessing a $35 fee on all re-recordings. We then went ahead and added new language down below for clarification on that, and just to break out whether it's a re-recording or a new brand recording. That's in the green section. I'm going to go ahead and skip down then, Julia, to, I believe, other than that, I believe the only other green that you'll see on there is just the change in numbering because of adding that new section of number 3. So with that, there were just a couple minor changes on that. And so at that point, we can open it up for any questions concerning 564. I'd be happy to answer those, and then we will move on to 565.
As a reminder for anyone who has joined on the phone, you can raise your hand by pressing *9. And once you've been called on, you can press *6 to unmute yourself.
This is Tom Barnes. I don't know. I can't find the hand function, so I don't know if I can just jump in and ask a question or not.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. Thanks, Doug. Could you clarify that the $35 non-refundable fee one more time? The way I read it looked like it was going to be charged, but you said it wasn't. So if you could just clarify that one more time for me, please.
You bet. Sure, Tom. Thank you. So for the $35, the application fee, that'll be for new applications. So anybody applying for a new brand or a temporary brand will incur the $35 fee. That's for the staff time and processing those and going through it. And then say if a brand isn't recorded, it's just like it is now. The $35 would stay with the department, and the $120 would be refunded to the individual applying for a brand. And then the next section in 3 is why we added that, just that broke it out and clarified, because I know we had, that was an issue before that it assessed it to everyone renewing. So we added section 3 to break that out.
All right. Thank you. And another question I had was in the time frame, because it was originally, it was good for 4 years, and I know there were some changes, and I see that, the 4th year was struck out, but there's no other period. It just says period. I know we discussed that before, but could you refresh my memory kind of on where we're going with that? Because it leaves it, pretty wide open as far as, it just says period.
Yeah, absolutely, Tom. So the 4-year period, the reason that was in here, that was in statute. And so that's the one that I know we've discussed before about a BDR that was submitted to change the brand re-recording to a 3-year period, which that's done in statute. And so when we created this draft, nothing had been presented to the legislature, nothing had been approved in that sense. So the Legislative Council Bureau actually advised us to just take out the 4-year section in here and put period, which refers back to, so this is based off of statute. So this will have to follow whatever statute says.
And what's that statute now, Doug? Or is there one or?
Yeah, the current statute in 564 is 4-year period. And that's a statute.
Okay, so nothing's been changed.
It hasn't been changed as of yet. It was proposed in a BDR to be changed to a 3-year period. Okay,
so that'll be in a different statute to address then.
Yeah, that's actually in statute, and that'll if it progresses and goes through, that'll go through the legislative process and Carson's during this session.
Okay, and then I have one more question to pester you with. And then getting back to the dispatch system. And I think we've talked about this before, because you said that, if you need a brand inspector, you can do it online through the dispatch system. But You know, a lot of our guys aren't going to do that. Is it still okay to call your area brand inspector?
With this, in order to use the program itself, we would have to either need it to go through the Elko office, through a phone number at the Elko office, or the online system. That way we can track everything, because as it is right now, we don't know where the brand inspectors are or who they're doing inspections for. So it's more of a tracking and organizational item. So that everything would either be funneled through the Elko office phone number or the online system.
Okay. So the days of being able to call your area brand inspector could be over then.
Well, I mean, I think they could probably still call, but then that brand inspector would need to call the Elko office so we can add it into the program and into the system. So,
Right. Don't just because I know, you know, what we went through here, like, you know, last fall. You know, if you called the Elko office, you know, you may well just stood outside your door and yelled out in the air, you know. You know, if we needed to get a brand inspector, we still had to call those area guys because you know, the Elko office, you know, sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. There was not a lot, I guess there was not a lot of confidence, you know, going that route.
and I'll say with that, Tom, I mean, some of that is tied back to the pandemic. And then also, as you know, we had staffing issues where we were down to only one person. So, I mean, in that type of scenario, I mean, we'll make it work. We would do what we'd have to do at that point. But if we're fully staffed and we have people at the office, you know, to answer the lines and stuff, that's our plan, is just to be able to, you know.
Right. Yeah, it's just you know, the industry confidence back, you know, and going that way because, you know, after last year, there was so much confidence that was lost that, you know, it's going to be kind of tough to get people to go back, you know, or to feel confident calling the office or doing that, or going that direction, I guess. You know, there's going to be kind of a, I don't know, a learning curve, if you want, you know, that we're going to have to start over with, it seems like to me. So that's the only questions I have.
Okay, and I think, you know, with all of this, I mean, I understand there'll be a learning curve for any of it, I'm sure. And you know, I think our biggest thing with this is when we do audits and things like that internally, right now with having inspectors that, you know, self-dispatch, we find that we have inspectors driving past inspectors to doing jobs, which, you know, in the end is costing the industry and the program dollars. So that's our deal, is to streamline this and try and make it as efficient as possible so it can be self-sufficient.
Doug Busselman had his hand raised. Doug, if you'll please unmute yourself.
Am I coming through now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. The question that I had has to do with kind of the transition process as you go from what has been the practice to what the practice will be. What kind of a timeline, or when does the transition happen, and how will you notify those who need to be notified that this change is underway?
Thank you, Doug. So with this, as far as, because this is a part of our budget presentation, which we had a budget closing, but we are actually going back to IFC with the information and the budget information for further clarification. So I know right now we're looking at, it would be probably in October timeline of starting this, October of 2021. And I would say it'll probably be, you know, just to be completely honest, it's probably a 6-month time period of changing over and getting people changed over. The brand inspectors, everybody would be notified that we had, you know, openings throughout in positions in the state that they could apply for like any other state position. I think some of the other stuff, you know, it's going to take time to implement these things as far as the dispatch program and things like that. I mean, probably to have that fully implemented would take a year, I would imagine, in just getting everybody, you know, transferred over that and comfortable in using it. So that's kind of what we would probably be looking at about now.
At this time, that's hand being raised.
Okay, if you don't have any further questions on 564, we can go to 565. Julia, please.
Okay.
All right, again, with this one, like I said, previously, it was the language was either in blue italics or red and bracketed. We now have the addition of the green, the purple, and the orange for the comments that we received during the last workshop and that we've implemented into this language. So I'm kind of skimming down through the pages here so I can get to where we did change these sections. On page 3, Julia. This one now, this section where the fee for a livestock movement permit for $5 for each permit request by a permittee, that is bracketed and has been taken out. That's proposed language to be deleted in this amendment. So the $5 fee would not be set there. Just for clarification, that would actually be, the fee would be set by the Board of Agriculture. And I know we touch on that as we go down through these pages as well. So now if you'll go to page 5, Julia. So in the previous language, it had been changed from the State Board of Agriculture to the director. And with the feedback we received, we changed that back. So it is the State Board of Agriculture. And so we would go to the State Board of Agriculture to have them establish the fee for the special permits. Then I'm going to keep going down. And then on page 7, number 7, this is where we had received feedback about it had been changed to $1 a head for doing an inventory inspection. And so I know it had been brought up that that's really expensive for as quickly as that can be done, an inventory inspection can be done. So we actually reverted that back to the 40 cents where it was previously. And so that would be back to the 40 cents per head with the $35 travel fee for the inspection site. And then just the changes to the hourly fees assessed for brand inspectors for their time. And I believe with that, those are the only changes that we made on 565, unless you saw something I missed, Julie.
I did not. So
Okay.
reminder for anyone who has joined by phone, you can raise your hand by pressing *9. And once you've been called on, you can press *6 to unmute yourself. Doug Busselman has his hand raised.
Well, hopefully I'm coming through.
Yes.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, thank you.
The instructions that you gave at the beginning don't match my screen sometimes, so I'm not always certain where I'm at. But anyway, first of all, I want to go on the record as thanking you all for the changes that you made from the first hearing, especially on page 5. We are strongly in support of the change back to having the State Board of Agriculture be in charge of those fees. And so I want to say thank you for that. This actually would apply to both of the sections, all of the regulations that are being proposed. We would appreciate and request here that there be a proposed budget made public so that we can see how the proposed regulatory changes translate into how operations are expected to be adequately funded by these fees. I think we're looking to try to make sure that we can see the assumptions and the basis that are used to project the way that the proposed fees and activities match up. This is quite a, I mean, with the regulations, with the legislative changes, with the restructuring, all of the moving pieces that are going to play out. I think it would be helpful for us to have that ability to have a basis for understanding where we're starting out from and what the expectations would be going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug.
Go ahead.
I was just going to ask what the budget was. And then, of course, Doug says it so much more elegantly than I. So thank you.
I'm sorry, Leanna, as far as what do you mean what the budget was?
Thanks, Doug. What is your total needs to run the Department of Brands? Do you have that calculated at this point? I don't want to override anything that Doug has said or Tom has said. And so I'm not trying to create an issue, believe me. I just would like to understand, just bottom line, what you guys need yearly to run the brands department.
Okay, sure. And
Is that fair, Doug?
you're talking Doug Ferris? I just want to make sure, Leanna.
Yes, Doug Ferris.
Okay. Yeah, no, it is. And I honestly don't have that right in front of me with these regulation changes. I don't have that in front of me. I will say it was all in our proposed budget that went to the legislature. And like I say, we'll be going back to IFC, I believe, in August with that because our budget wasn't closed for budget account 4546, which is the livestock inspection. And included in that has the amendment of how things were broken down and how these fees were derived to meet the department needs. But I honestly don't have the exact numbers in front of me at this time with this.
Well, can I ask one more question, please?
Sure.
The rumors were that you were going broke in the livestock department, in the brands department, and that you didn't have the funding to manage and to spread the pennies where they belonged. And I'm going to believe that's true, or you wouldn't be taking these increases. So what is the cost from the past to run these departments?
Right. And again, I don't have those numbers right in front of me. I can say that with one of the slides that we put up there, the way the state budget accounts are operated off is that you have to keep a certain amount so many days in reserves. And you can see from that one slide that we had what the reserves have done over history. So I mean, it's not a rumor. Sadly, the account has just continued to decrease in reserves, where there's more expenditures going out than funds coming in, and that is the reason for the fee increases. I can say as a state program, I mean, we're here to provide a service and not to make a monetary gain, but to at least cover our expenses. So that's the premise behind all of this, is so that we can get it out. I mean, if we can meet the minimum reserves that we need to from the state, that's what we want to do. And that's also why we received the letter of intent and had to provide a business plan during the 2019 session to the legislature because of their concern of the decreasing reserves in this budget account over time.
Thank you, Mr. Ferris. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Leanna.
Tom Barnes is raising his hand.
Oh, thank you. I just want to concur with what Doug Busselman said. I appreciate the changes that you guys made. And I also appreciate, the ask that Doug Busselman asked again as far as budgetary stuff. So like I say, just thanks for the changes, and I appreciate Doug Busselman's comments.
I'm
Thank you, Tom.
not seeing any other hands raised, Doug.
Okay, if we don't have any further questions or anything, we'll go ahead and move on to the next section, if we could, please, Julia.
Okay. So we are now in our Q&A section of our meeting. We appreciate everyone's questions. We're moving into public comment for anyone wishing to make a statement for the record and consideration. Please remember to keep these statements to 3 minutes. I'm not seeing any hands raised, Doug.
Okay, if we don't have any more public comment, I'll go ahead and move on to the closing section then. Thank you all for your participation and in taking the time out of your day to be here today. NDA will take any of the comments that we received here today for consideration, along with any written comments that are received during the rulemaking process. Following the workshop process, there will be a hearing for adoption of regulations scheduled and communicated. This notice for the hearing will be posted not less than 30 days prior to the hearing date and will provide instruction as how to provide written comment and a deadline for submission of comments for purposes of being included in this official record of the hearing for adoption. I'd like to thank everybody for attending today. And at this time, we'll adjourn this workshop at 9:42 a.m. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Doug and Julia.
Thank you.